Okay, welcome back. Here's another video for you guys. Now this one's kind of a little bit different. I wanted to talk about a camera that I use all the time. I've used this so many times on vacation. It's kind of like my vacation shooter. When I'm not using Leica cameras, which is primarily what I shoot with, I experiment with all different types of cameras. I've shot a ton of Fuji cameras, Ricoh, everything up from Hasselblad, Phase 1, all the way down to Nikon, Canon. And today I'm here to talk about a camera that I think is often overlooked, but really shouldn't be. It is an older camera, and that is going to be the Canon EOS M6 Mark II. All right, I'm doing that YouTube thing where I put the camera in front of the lens here, and it's a little bit slower because I am using the Leica SL2S for video today, so it's not as snappy as some of my Sony or Canon cameras, but does the job nonetheless, and it does a beautiful job at that. And like I said, a lot of times when I'm on vacation, I don't want a large camera. I don't want to bring a huge DSLR or something along the lines of that form factor. So I will look for these kind of I guess you would call them smaller, compact cameras, but I do like to have interchangeable lenses. Now, I don't do that all the time. Sometimes I will bring some of the other cameras that I'll show you here today, but I can see that that's focusing back on my face again. But the Canon EOS M6 has just been a phenomenal camera, and I've used it for many years. Some talking points on this, what can I say? It's aimed at enthusiasts, professionals. It does have a lot of features when it comes to photography, and not so much with video. There is 4K in this, but you can't get any log profile. Now, there are people that have messed with the software in order to get flatter picture profiles so you can grade them later on in post. But I would say overall, unless you're just doing some quick snaps for video, I really wouldn't rely too much on video with this. Like I said, it will shoot 4K, it will do some slow motion in camera and whatnot, but it's primarily not really, I think, that great for video. The 4K seems a little bit soft for me. I think there's other options, but if you're looking for a fun camera for vacation, this is a great travel camera. I mean, you can see how small this thing is. It's a very small camera. Here it is next to a Ricoh GR3X. Now, you can see that the Ricoh is obviously, let me see if I can focus that out for you guys, and not on my face. You can see that the Ricoh is obviously smaller here and thinner, but it is not a large camera by any means, especially when you have the 22mm f2 on it, which is what I use a lot as far as like, the pack, to have the camera packed with this 22mm. I'll show you some, pictures throughout the video as well, but I do want to kind of get into this a little bit. So let's change camera angles here and let's do a little top-down action. Sorry if I'm looking up over here. I'm using a monitor because, again, the SL2S, although a phenomenal camera, does not have a flip-out screen. We now have that with the SL3, but it's beyond me why Leica made a video-centric camera and didn't give it a flip-out screen. But nonetheless, I'm going to switch camera angles here. Okay, so as you can see here, I have the Canon EOS M6 Mark II. Let me slide some of these other cameras out. Now, awesome camera, 22mm f2 pancake lens. You can just see how small that lens really is. I mean, it is a small footprint of a lens. You're looking at an APS-C sensor, but the cool thing about this sensor is it's 32 megapixels. So, you do have a lot of flexibility in post when it comes to cropping or just resolution. So I think that is a really, really strong suit of this camera. Now, it was released in August of 2019, so it is an older camera. I think everybody now is gravitating towards the new Canon, what is it, the R50V or the R50. The R50 is a great camera, and it's probably somewhere along the lines of this, but I would say that this, it's not that it'll have more features, but it has that R50V kind of footprint, but more photocentric, where the R50V is now more dedicated to video. I really like that camera. I haven't tried it yet, but it really impresses me as far as the overall styling of it, but I just wish it was more photocentric, and it's not, because I'm not really a videographer. ISO range from 100 to 25,600. It's expandable. It does have the dual pixel CMOS AF, so it's very smooth and fast and accurate, and I can say that that is the case. It does track well. The autofocusing does work really, really well, and it's very sticky. The camera can be a little bit loud. I'll just hold this up to my mic real quick and take a snap photo of it. So the shutter is a little bit louder. You can recognize it, you know, when it's going off in a crowd. But so for as small as the camera is, it kind of gives it away when you hear the shutter going off. But, you know, it is what it is. Eye detection, AF, 14 frames a second with AF and AE tracking. So it's great for sports and wildlife. It really does. It'll do a 30 frame per second burst, raw burst, and it will pre-shoot too. So if you want to capture a few of those seconds beforehand, you know, fine. Like I said, 4K at 30p, uncropped, and then you can do a full HD 120 for slow motion if you want. It does have a clean HDMI out for external recording, and those are right on the side here. Where am I at? It's on this side. It's on the same side as the grip. Some people may like that, some people may not, but nonetheless, there it is. And as you can see, you know, before I get too deep in the woods here, it does have a flip out screen. It isn't a fully articulating. Oh, that was a little tough to get in. It's not a fully articulating screen like you see on other things, but it is full flip out here. So it will rotate straight down like this, which is nice. I really like this on vacation because I don't always want to have, you know, the camera up to my face. So it does flip out like this, and it does come out as well, and it'll flip down. So it'll give you that, you know, if you're overhead and you want to kind of shoot it that way. And it will also go into selfie mode. So as you can see, you can kind of see, no, there I am. You can kind of see yourself there too. So it does have all those features. The other cool thing about it is fully touch screen, and not just touch screen in terms of focusing and whatnot, fully touch screen in terms of the menu. So I can go through, and as you can see, everything that I touch here is activating. So really, really cool that way, and I really enjoy that. You have your autofocus, manual focus switch right here, which is nice. Back button focusing if you want. Your info screen, cycle through all the different parameters. And I think even on this screen, you can touch some of the things, maybe not. I think you can set that up. All your dials and exposures, menu button, focusing parameters, AE lock, whatnot. You have your multi-function dial, so you can hit this button on the top here, and this button will access quick shortcut menus down here, which you can use the scroll wheel, or you can use the back scroll wheel and then the front to pick other things within that menu system. Canon's done that a few times, but I really like that. So again, you have this front wheel that's kind of integrated into the camera button itself. I don't know if this is focusing out. Into the camera, into the shutter release, you have this button as well, and then you have your multi-function dial up at the top here that gives you your, you know, aperture priority and all your movie functions. And there's some auto functions too. You have a hot shoe, lens release. You have a mic port and a remote control. There is no headphone port for that, but the other cool thing about this is you have a flash. So there is a dedicated flash. I know a lot of people on travel cameras, especially these little compact shooters, want a flash, and I can understand that. I think that, you know, some of these cameras have gone away from a flash, like, you know, the Ricos, even the newest one, there's no flash, so you can't get a flash on this. You have to use either the Ricoh GR2, which I have over there, or the GR1 that has a flash. But if you're getting a GR3 or a GR3X or a GR4, no flash. So again, not the end of the day, but it is something that you have to consider. This has the built-in flash as well. As you can see, it is a larger camera than the Ricoh, but overall not that bad at all in terms of size. I would say more along the size of the Leica Deluxe 8, as you can see here. The cool thing about the Deluxe 8 is it does have basically a 24-70 lens within the camera itself, but on the other hand, you can't switch lenses and you're stuck with what it is, and it's a micro four thirds. Not that that's a bad thing, but again, this has a larger sensor and almost twice the resolution, because it is a 32.5 megapixel file that's coming out of it. So you have that, plus you have the ability to change lenses. The Leica CL, I would say, would be the closest thing to maybe the M6 here, because you APS-C, 24 megapixels, 32, but you still have that ability to change lenses. Now, you can see something kind of funny here, is that this is a 22 f2 and this is a 23 f2, and you can see how good of a job Canon did with this small pancake lens, and it really is a really nice lens. If you're going to get this camera, which now, you know, you can't buy them new, they are only on the used market, and you know, maybe you can find one new packaged, but basically you would have to find this on the used market, and they're still they're not cheap. They're probably in line with what the newer APS-C cameras cost from Canon. You know, like you probably get one for anywhere from $600 to $800. I don't think that, you know, they're that low yet. I mean, they're still selling M2s and M6s for $400 or $500. So the M6 Mark II, which is the one that came after that, is still going to be up quite a bit. But it is a discontinued lens mount. It is a discontinued camera, so you can find some of the lenses kind of cheap. And some of the lenses that I recommend that, you know, I've used, you know, all the time on vacation is this nice 11 to 22. Now, this will bring you right up to where the pancake is on the far end, but it does give you that 11 millimeter wide focal length. So that's kind of like a 16. So, you know, a 16 millimeter lens for this. So really, really good and really sharp. It does a 4.5 to f6. So it's not the fastest lens out there, but for street photography, I primarily shoot around f8, f11 anyway when I'm on vacation, unless I'm doing some kind of like portrait work, which I rarely do on vacation. It's basically snapshots of my family and just events that I'm at. I'm usually stopped down quite some bit, so you know, the 11 to 22 is just fine for me. If you do want to get a little crazy with portraits, you can jump into the 33. Is this a 33 or 32? I'm sorry, the 32 1.4. 32 1.4, again, a lot of fun, you know, fast lens, and this will kind of give you like that 50 millimeter, you know, 1.4, or probably more like a 1.8 because of the crop factor lens. But really, really nice results out of this, and resolves the 32 megapixels really, really good. Now, for those of you that may be wondering, well, like, that's all well and good that this camera does what it does, but let me just focus this here. But, you know, a lot of times when I travel, I'm in a sunny area like Florida. This camera has been to Disney with me many times, and those of you that are on my channel regularly know that I test a ton of cameras in Disney. I've shot everything from medium formats down to, you know, 1-inch sensors and GoPros and, you know, Insta360 Action 2s and everything else under the sun and literally under the sun in Florida. And I think it's a great testing ground for cameras. But, you know, oh, well, it only has a flip out screen. It only has an LCD. So, you know, what do I do in the bright sun? Now, the screen does get pretty bright. I've never really had that much of an issue with it, but you know, you can try to buy the kit that will give you an electronic EVF, which uses this multifunction hot shoe on the front, and that just basically slides right in the front, and now you have an EVF, and it's a pretty good EVF. I enjoy it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's 2.3, you know, million dot, you know, similar to any other EVF, but it does change the form factor of the camera considerably. Now you have this hump at the front. It isn't articulating in any way. It's just here. It does have a diopter, so you can adjust it. And it does have a multifunction button on the side here, which will allow it to shut off or to use it. It does have a sensor, so it will, you know, when you bring it up to your eye, it will trigger the camera itself, the screens if you want, but you don't have to set it up that way. But as you can see, it does kind of change that form factor, but nonetheless, it's super light. It's, you know, it's plasticky, but it does the job. And if you're concerned about sunlight, which I can completely understand, it's probably one of the reasons why I didn't pick up the Canon R50V. It's just because there's no EVF, and I do shoot with an EVF often because you can see my glasses, my eyesight is not the best, and when I'm shooting these cameras, I kind of have to be out here to even kind of see things, so it can kind of be a bit distracting. You know, is it going to be something as small as, you know, what is this, the Sony RX100? What is this? I don't even know what we're up to now. This is the newest one. So what is this, the 5? I don't know what it is, 7? Damn, so many of these cameras, sorry. But no, it's not going to be as small as this. You can kind of, you know, see where we're at here is like, you know, we're not the same thing. It's, you know, a lot smaller. And this camera is, you know, really, really pocketable and in your palm. This one, you know, you can, I don't have huge hands, but this has an internal, you know, attached lens as well. It's like this one is like a 24-200. It's huge, but it also sticks out pretty far too. When you start zooming this thing out, and you start doing telephoto, I mean, it kind of looks kind of funny. It's, you know, it's kind of, it's like a huge nose sticking out of your face here. But nonetheless, it does have an EVF too, which again, they did a great job with, with integrating it into the camera itself. So I really enjoy that. And it does have a flip out screen just like the Canon does. And it also has flash. So this kind of thing has you covered all the way around. But again, there are some negatives with this too. It's a 1-inch sensor, arguably not the best in low light, and a fixed lens. So back to the Canon. You know, if I could point out some of the strengths, like I said, it would be really, really good resolution and a really nice form factor in terms of the overall handling of the camera, how fast it is. It's not, I mean, it's definitely built well. You can, it's you know, it's got a solid build to it. It's got some heft to it. And it's just a really great form factor with a really good resolution when you're away and taking those travel photos. You do get that, you know, Canon, you know, color picture, you know, science. So it does have Canon colors, and that's great too. It does have reliable AF and face and eye tracking. The burst rate is great if that's your thing. For me, it's not so much. I use this kind of like a street photography travel camera, and I think it does a great job at that. You can say, what are the weaknesses? It doesn't have a built-in EVF. If they would have put it flipped out like they did on the Sony, I think it would have been a better choice. But instead, you kind of have to spend more money to get this, and and that kind of just adds to the cost of everything. There is no IBIS in it. It doesn't have IBIS. It does have electronic stabe for video and things like that, but it does not have anything to do with you know, 5-image or 5-axis image stabilization like you have now on some of these other cameras. Cool thing about it is that you can get an adapter here and adapt all your Canon glass. So here I have a full frame 40 millimeter 2.8, I believe this is. Yeah, 2.8 STM, and that's a pancake lens in itself. But you can have this EF, the EOS M adapter with all the electronics, and you can kind of put that onto the camera as well, and that'll do what it needs to do. So it's not bad that way. Battery life was pretty good, about 300 shots or so. Not too bad that way. And again, I think for travel photographers, again, if you don't want to jump and get into the Sony RX line, or you don't want to buy a Ricoh, because again, you're looking at 2 fixed lenses. I mean, you're stuck with this focal length, and you're stuck with what this gives you, albeit it is a large window for focal lengths. It is a 1-inch sensor, and that may not be your thing. So then, you know, where else are you going to go? There's other cameras today, and maybe you want to do that. But if you want to save yourself some money and kind of focus in on a really, really fantastic camera that, you know, isn't the newest tech, and I argue this point all the time, is that you don't need to buy the newest camera. I mean, yeah, I did buy a Deluxe 8, and I do enjoy this camera. I have a lot of fun with it. Again, if you want a flash, you have to use an external flash. It does have an internal EVF. This camera here has slowly become one of my favorites. But again, you know, it's an older camera. This camera, I think, is a 2017, so not too far off from, you know, 2019 when this was released, so a little bit older. You know, it is a Leica, and it is a Leica in every sense of the word. It's very fine quality, craftsmanship, and, you know, I really, really like the files to come out of this. But again, this camera used $1,500 to $1,700. Then you still got to buy a lens, and we all know that Leica lenses are very expensive. Now, there are third-party lenses for this, but it's still an expensive camera. This camera here, you can get in the door, like I said, just over $500–600 on the used market, and still very, very competent in today's world in terms of, you know, quality and functionality and everything else. It does use the older processor. It's using a Digic 8, and I think the new one now is the Digic X, which would be, I guess, 10, but they're calling it the X. So, but I haven't noticed it for anything that I'm really doing. I haven't noticed it. Can it be a better video camera? Yes. Do I wish it had C-Log or any log? Yes, I do. Do I like the 4K? I think it's a little bit soft, not really my cup of tea, but then at the end of the day, I'm not really a videographer anyway. So it really doesn't matter to me that it shoots, you know, kind of subpar 4K, if you will. Like I said, this is a great camera. I've wanted to make a video about this camera so many times, and today was a rainy day, and you know, I figured it'd be a good time to do it. I've shot this camera, like I said, I've taken it on outings around here. I've taken it into family events. I've taken it to Florida numerous times. And it actually was accompanying some other cameras that I brought to Greece recently. So I took a trip to Greece with my family, and I brought the Insta360 X5 360 camera. I brought the Leica SL2. So the 48 megapixel SL2, the bigger brother to the SL2S that I'm shooting on now. And that was my primary shooter, and I'll get into that. And if you want to see that video, I'll put a link below when I actually make that video about shooting Greece, because that definitely needs to be a video in itself. But I also brought this, and I use this a lot. I think I use this probably just as much as I used my Leica SL2, not only because, you you know, as far as the files that come out of it, they're fantastic, but just, it's so small. I mean, the SL2 is a big and heavy all metal camera, and this is a very small camera, and I was able to put this in a small pouch and have it on my chest, and I really didn't want to be in some of the areas, you know, could be a little bit questionable, and I really didn't want to be sticking around with a big red badge on my shoulder and, you know, an SL2. So this seems like a little touristy camera. I could sneak it in anywhere that I want, and I can shoot it kind of looking straight down because I have that flip out screen. I don't have to have my, you know, eye up to the EVF, which I did a lot of times, and, you know, you'll see some of those files as well. I've gone on long enough. I don't script my videos, as you may or may not tell. I appreciate you guys following me. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to try to push out more videos. I've been really, really busy with photography and actually making a living now with photography. Videos are few and far between, but I released one just the other day on some of my gripes about the new Fujifilm X-E5. So if you haven't seen that video, check out the link below and I will direct you over to that. But look at some of the older tech. You don't always need to buy the greatest and newest thing out there and you think it's going to make your photography experience better. It may alleviate some of the gripes that you've had from technology in the past, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be better. I would really seriously take a look at some of these older cameras. Maybe not this one if this isn't your cup, but I think it's a fantastic camera, and it's one of those sleeper cameras that I've been using behind the scenes for so many years, and I never talked about it, so that's why the video is being launched. Thank you again, and I will see you on the next one.